And it's interesting because, when you talk about how, it's used, creatively, you talk about songwriting. So I wrote and recorded on a song that came out last year. And I agree with you guys. I like to take a break from something for a day, a night, 6 hours, whatever it is, when you get stumped on something. And I was really stumped on how I wanted to express myself with what I was putting in the lyrics of this song. And there was one line that I was stumped on. I liked the 3 lines in this verse I was writing, and I had to figure out a different way to word it. And so I went to GPT. I said,
Hey, that would be great for that, I would think.
yeah, instead of looking up, because in the old days, you'd look up a thesaurus to try to figure out,
Sure.
Hey, can I do
you call
this?
a buddy. You call
Correct.
a friend and say, hey, I'm stuck on this line. And to me, and we've talked about that before on your show here, Tony, that I think that's a great use for it.
Right.
Now, it's to help you fill in a blank where you're just stuck.
Right. And so what I'll do is I'll also tell you that it came up with a line that that really expressed what I was trying to convey to this song with the track. So essentially, it's what I wanted to express. So, some people might make the argument, well, AI came up with it with you. Well, not really. I prompted it and told it, this is what I'm trying to get through. I have this sentence. What is a better way to say this that will fit with the lyrics? That's the way I prompted it. It was real simple. And it did it, right? The other thing that I've used AI for, and actually it's been with this for quite a while, is photography. So, and I'm bringing that up because it is a creative thing. Yep. One of the things that I've done recently, and Nick you probably don't know about this. My uncle passed away. He was,
I'm sorry, Tom.
Yeah, this was probably 3 years ago, and we found out about his entire Navy career. Now, the interesting thing is he was an electronics engineer on an aircraft carrier, and it happened to be the USS Ranger, which was back then in the Vietnam era was the Top Gun carrier of the Pacific. And the reason I'm bringing that up is that he had very, very, and Christian has seen some of the photos I posted. He had extremely clear photos on slides that I restored because I shoot most of my work on film. And so when I went to Lightroom, and when I started scanning these and I went to Lightroom, and in Photoshop, I basically went into the AI and I told it, this is Kodachrome or it's, and I would say, hey, this is a Kodachrome slide. Because I had it basically when I prompted it, I wanted it to look like Kodachrome should look. And I needed it to compensate for the degradation of the slides themselves. They still looked good, but it did what would have taken me probably a good hour to come up with a really good color template to match that. And that's exactly what it did. So I was able to do that. So if you look at these things, it looks like they were taken yesterday. But obviously, the United States Navy hasn't used F-4 Phantoms on an aircraft carrier, since the late 70s.
Quite a while.
But it looks,
they look great. Yeah, I've seen them. They look fantastic.
The photos look, they look incredible.
And to Nick's point, you also had to know what to tell the AI what you wanted it to do.
Correct. So, when I shoot racing photos, mainly classic nostalgia drag racing, what I did is one of the negatives I scanned, I went to one of the photos and I said, this color palette, because sometimes when you scan them, it does not scan it in the exact colors. You kind of have to go in and basically go into Lightroom or Photoshop or something like that and tell it, or go and adjust the colors to look like that film format, which was Kodak Portra 400. And I went to Photoshop Firefly and I told it these colors should match what should Kodak Portra 400 should look like. And it did. And I had to do a lot of different prompting with it, but it did exactly what I said it did. It did like 95% of the work. There were a couple tweaks I had to make, but that was it.
You have been listening to the music I've been sending you that I've been creating with the new band. And I had pointed out to you that you had pointed out to me how great the demos sound to you. And a lot of that had to do with IK Multimedia is now making plugins for, their VST3 plugins that use machine learning to figure out what kind of a mix that you're looking for, and then actually you just kind of press the learn button and it creates this fabulous mix. I'm not a great mix engineer by any measure, and what it is that I'm turning out in terms of demos sounds fantastic because of that.
Agree.
So but I also had to know which ones to pick, and I also had to know what kind of a mix I wanted in the first place. So it took me a while to figure out how to get it to learn what I wanted.
You got to tell me the name of those. You got to tell me the name of those plugins.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to share them with you, man. They're pretty badass stuff.
And the other thing about the creative aspect too, something else I'll bring up, when it comes to songwriting, I have some friends in bands that are pretty well known. And one of the ways that some of these guys demoed their songs is, instead of, they write the song and then you got to get someone to sing it. They had AI do an AI version of their own singer to give them an idea. What might this sound like? Or should I change this? And then what they did is they did that. And then when they went into, some of these groups, when they went into the studio, they actually record the stuff. A couple of these guys were like, oh, that's a good guide vocal. And they took what the demo had and kind of made it their own thing. But it was kind of more of a guide of what that guitar player, bass player, whoever was looking for when it comes to that. So
it is a great way for you as, a guitar player, a bass player, a drummer that's writing a song that has a great singer to work with, to telegraph what it is you're looking for your singer to do. Because I'm sure we've all done it. I'm sure you've done it, Nick, too, where you're sitting down going la 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 la. You're singing la la la, so that your singer has an idea of what it is that you're looking for when you send a demo, right?
That has happened once or twice, yes.
Yeah, maybe a couple of hundred times, right, over the years.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have seen tools like that. What I generally tend to use for that is a voice to MIDI. And then the MIDI will actually turn it into something, but I haven't tried using an AI voice for that. That sounds actually very interesting to me.
Yeah,
that's a great tool for being able to give your ideas to somebody else that can bring them to life. I think that's a nifty idea.
Right. And what they did is, actually, the way that one person I know did it is he actually fed the singer in his own band into the AI, and it duplicated.
Made a clone of his voice?
Made a clone of his voice, and that's how he got so when he wrote the song, he's like, okay, I could see him doing something similar to this. It wasn't perfect, but when they went to record it, that singer they changed up a few parts on it that he thought fit better. But the person writing the song ended up getting a good feel for the track and how it could sound,
right,
by doing that.
Great production ideas, great production tool.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. It's like if your singer isn't available to you right at the time that you're writing, which is very convenient. You can go, hey, try this. Instead, you can create here's my framework, send it to them, and they go, you mean this, and sing it back.
Yep.
These are great uses for tools like that. And I can hear the hatred I'm going to get right now for it anyway, for saying that that's a great tool, but I'm going to get some hatred for it.
Honestly, it's no different than playing the melody line on a keyboard or singing it yourself. If you can carry it yourself. It's just a slightly more polished version of that. As long as you're writing the melody, that is, if you're not writing the melody, then it starts to then you get into more subjective. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? And I don't know that it's, at the end of the day, I sort of take the same view you do, which is in the same way that low cost filmmaking tools and really Pro Tools enables you and me
more
and
people to be creative.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just another extension of that. And there are people that might have great ideas, but aren't ever going to be able to play an instrument well enough to bring them to life, and they can use these tools to get their ideas across to people. I think that's all positive.
Yeah, me too. And do you feel threatened by it at all as a professional musician? I don't.
No.
It doesn't mean a damn thing to me. I'm still going to be able to make a record and go play on tour and
yeah, well, where it starts to get weird is when record companies stop signing bands because they think they can just do everything through AI. And that's happening for sure.
Well, that's a conversation that I had with Tony last year, and I'd like to run this by you because this is the way I see it. You have a great mind for business. That's how you're wired. So the way I saw this playing out is that pop and hip hop will be the first two genres to be affected by it. And right now, for example, is that if you go to Nashville, you have every great guitar player, great drummer, bass player, fiddle player, and singer on the planet competing to be the next person that plays on that next big record from the artist that they sign. Well, they don't, and they'll have 10 or 12 or 15 songwriters writing one song. We've seen that pretty often. Well, now they'll just actually have AI write stuff for them, and they'll have it write it 10, 20, 30 songs a day and go through a massive catalog of stuff that really can work. And then instead of just picking the band or even picking the band at all, they'll start looking for the headshot and the voice to go with what has been created. I'm concerned that will take that we're not going to create as many millionaire pop stars as we used to. Instead, they'll be contracted and
we're not going to create as many Dan Huffs as we used to, although there aren't that many Dan Huffs.
And that has me concerned as well. That's what I'm talking about. So I think, but in the genre we play in, especially heavy metal, heavy rock, progressive metal, we as fans want heroes. I want to, I love the way Nick plays guitar. I've said this to you 100 times, man, I love that.
You like it more than I do.
Thank you. You actually said to me, I think last time, you said something about being Dave Mustaine, and I just kind of do what I do. I thought that was funny.
I'm the Dave Mustaine, and Simone is my Marty Friedman.
I get it. And so, but I recognize the way you play is something interesting to me. I want that. So, and I think I mentioned this to you too. I believe we were talking about this waiting for Symphony X to come out when we were hanging out in front of the bus. And that was that we want those heroes. We also, and I think a really good proof of that would be the next time we go see Iron Maiden, and me and you have seen them together a couple times, is that Nico McBrain won't be there. And there's no way that's not going to be weird. There's no way that isn't going to feel strange to us, even though that guy's been with them. He was Nico's tech for God knows how many years, right? He's been with them forever, but it's still going to feel like a different version of Iron Maiden to us.
Yes, it is.
That's why I think rock and metal, the fans are still going to want to know.
I mean, you're talking to a guy who will only get seats near the front on stage right, so that I can, no offense to Yannick, I can pretend the band is the same band that it was in 1989. So
that's what I'm talking about, though. Yeah. So I thought when I release this, when we actually get this record done that I'm working on, I want to shrink wrap it and stamp it by saying genuine, authentic, guaranteed, AI free, US grade A heavy metal. That's what I want. And I think that'll start a trend. I think people will pick that up, and they'll start stamping their stuff as
I think you're absolutely right. And I think that pop and hip hop is already so, I mean, there is certainly creative songwriting going on. I think the machine grinds it down to its lowest common denominators. If you listen to Lady Gaga perform on Howard Stern with just her and a piano, you come out of that thinking this is the most talented human being in the world. This song is absolutely beautiful. It's capable of bringing me to tears. Her vocal performance is unbelievable. And the version that gets played is crap. It is stripped of all of its beauty. But
agreed.
That's what sells. But I think that's also why the people that listen to that genre and the people that create in that genre, Drake is probably sitting there thinking, if I can press a button and have 10 more songs that sound like me and have a new album and I don't have to do a damn thing to do it, and makes people happy, great, right?
And it makes me millions of dollars. Exactly. What the hell? Who cares?
But I think you're absolutely right. It's the same. The same gestalt that was spoken of in that song "Human Factor" by Metal Church, which I love so much.
Yeah.
Now it's so quaint complaining about MIDI and sampling. Now that we're talking about AI,
I was going to bring that up. I was going to talk about. Do you remember when sequencers were like the devil? That was the devil, and then MIDI was the devil, and then samplers were the devil. And look, guys, just get over it. It's not going to threaten your musical career, man. It's not any more than anything else does.
Let me throw this one at you guys. What if a record label goes and decides to create an album by a band that either A, doesn't exist anymore, or that person isn't alive anymore?
Yeah.
Well, that's actually interesting. The fan in me wouldn't mind. I'm trying to think of who would qualify for such a thing.
Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear another Dio song.
Yeah.
How would I feel about it?
Yeah. I mean, maybe not so great. Well, I'll tell you who's going to do it first will be Kiss. So let's see Let's see how we feel about that.
They've sold the rights to do that very thing. They knew that that's what they were doing when they made that deal. So it should, let's see. I mean, but at the same time, they've always kind of had a formulaic, they always did it to a blueprint. So if all the AI is going to do is say, hey, look, we're doing the same thing that they did by using this same blueprint, what's the big freaking deal?
Yeah.
But when you have, a genius like Mercury or a genius like Dio or whatever, it's funny. I might even absolutely love the song, but feel weird about loving it.
Yeah.
I
don't disagree. I don't disagree at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's always interesting too, when, you find these AI YouTube songs where like they have, Ronnie James Dio singing Beat It by Michael Jackson or something.
Those are fun.
Those are fun. I think that's really creative too, because you have to know, again, to create that, you got to know music enough to be able to figure out how it's going to sit. And then you have to know how to make the
mashups are great too. Have you seen the James Brown doing Overkill by Motorhead?
Oh my God, it's hilarious.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
It's hilarious. What was I watching the other day? It was something like P-Funk All-Stars mashed up with Kiss, and it was brilliant. It was really funny, and it worked.
Yeah.
Funny stuff. Again, that extension of creativity that AI can give people on. I think you mentioned Pro Tools just a little while ago. I remember when that came out, early 90s. It was really clunky and really slow and extremely expensive, but it created, it exploded in that Cubase followed very shortly after. And then there was Cakewalk. Cakewalk was kind of the poor man's version of all that. It only cost $900 instead of $5,000, and $5,000 in 1992 money was about, that was $12,000. So it gave the power of the people to do way
certainly
better
a lot cheaper than booking 120 hours in a recording studio, and
it also gave them something greater than a 4-track could give them. Even though I will always be nostalgic about my 4-track recording and songwriting days. I actually had a Yamaha MT8, which could record 8 tracks on a cassette.
The Fostex 4-track, that's what I had.
The Fostex.
I had the Fostex, then I had a TAC that I think recorded in 8, and I would bounce crap back and forth.
And it was glorious. Wasn't it glorious?
Exactly. Yep.
And it always sounded like crap, and we'd lie to ourselves about how good it is.
I'm going to have a single mono drum track that's
Hey, it's Tony here from the Metal Command Show. I want to thank you for watching this portion of the program. Since 1998, I have hosted the show, which started off as a radio program and is now into the podcast format. So I want to thank you for watching and or listening. And if you want to support the program, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell to be notified anytime I do post any content. A lot of you have been supporting the show and really, really helping this show grow, and I cannot do it without all of you. So with that said, thanks for watching. Stay metal.